Good.
This is Howard Garrett, the Dirt Doctor, and this is the second segment reviewing my books. In the first one we talked about plants of the Metroplex, so you can see that. This time we're going to talk about the Organic Manual, which is a book that started out as a handout. It started as a free handout in seminars that I gave, talking about and teaching people how to be organic. And it was a very basic book. We had some drawings in it that were okay, very sketchy and just very simple, typical seminar kind of a handout. We had so much interest in it that people kept asking me for it, and we had to reprint it. And so we finally decided that we should just turn it into a publication, into a book, which we did. This was the next version of it. You can see it was a perfect bound book. Still had the beard back in those days. Logan had drawn me a very nice color picture at a Rangers baseball game one day, and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "Well, it's Sunny Day." It was the name of the drawing, so it ended up being part of my book. The logo for the company at that point was actually from a photograph that I took of Logan smelling wildflowers next door to our house, and that has lasted through the years. But at this point, it was a book, but it was still pretty basic. It was just a little bit of a step above a free handout for seminars. You can see black and white only, but we did drawings of how to plant trees properly. That's a drawing, and I guess it's important for me to mention that the details of how I explain to plant a tree changed greatly over the years. So some of the older books like this, the way I explained it was okay. There's just a lot better ways that you can find in the more recent books. The next iteration, the next version of the Organic Manual actually was taken to a publisher, and it became a smaller book. We still use the same photograph of Logan and the wildflowers, and it became obviously much more professional looking. You'll see in all my books notes all the way through because I keep adding and amending and editing for future publications. But this book had a calendar, it had drawings, it talked about foliar feeding, it had more detailed information about insect and disease control. And so it just was going to the next level, but as you can see, it was still a black and white book. The other thing about the Organic Manual that has continued is that it is one of the few of my books that's not regionalized at all. A lot of my books can be used in any place in the country, in any place in the world probably, if you adjust the timing and some of the specific plants. But the manual and the professional book that I'll tell you about in our third segment were actually done in a completely non-regional way. The pink one was the next version. We're calling it the second edition. It was the second edition of the ones that were actually done by a publisher. But the information was greatly increased, a lot more details about the insects and diseases, and the calendar information, but as you can see, it was still the basic black and white book. Next version, in pink, a little more detail on the cover. This time we just simply stepped up the drawings, the information, planting details, went to the next level. More and more information about the natural organic approach. We added the cut line at this point, natural gardening for the 21st century, and we had really at this point gotten into a very detailed explanation of this overall organic program for both residential and commercial properties. This is the current version of the Organic Manual, and it's still available. All I can say that's different about it is that it has been updated with all the edits and the additional information about products and techniques to use for having healthy soil rich biologically active and biodiverse gardens, keeping the insects and disease problems under control, and when problems do pop up, what to do in the non-toxic arena. But this organic manual has gone through quite a few changes, from being a free handout in a seminar to being a book now that's sold across the country and in other countries as well. The organic manual. The third segment we'll do on my books will cover all of the other books that I've done, and we'll get to that just right away.